wait for her. And so good evening once again. Welcome to the OS Poetry Circle on the 11th of August. We are being recorded and this will go up on the OS website. And so we're on. The show has begun. And I won't name everybody who's here, but all our names are on the screen. It's a very nice number. And we have quite a few very good poems. And so without much ado, let's start with the first one from Kumkum, who I'm going to send it to you by WhatsApp, and then Kumkum will recite and we'll discuss. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I seem to have lost my WhatsApp on the computer. It might just take a minute to boot up and we'll be there. Just give me a minute and we'll be there. It just kind of dropped. Yeah, we're nearly there. It's coming, Poetry Circle. And here it comes, Kumkum's poem. Okay, I think you have it. It's actually quite a difficult poem. So take a minute or two to read it. Don't try to rush it. It's better that we go slower and study the poems than try to rush things.
Nice poem though.
Okay, everybody who's read and is ready can just say so, and then we'll wait for the last person.
Ready?
Anybody not yet ready? Minnie, are you ready? Okay, Minnie is ready too. Zafar?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, chalo, Kumkum. Away you go, Kumkum.
Okay, so I've misplaced the book. You know, my daughter gave me this as a gift, but I love this poem and I copied it and it's somewhere in the house. But so I'm reading from the phone. For all my young sisters, that's the name of the poem. You were born of stardust, crafted from the sun. The universe is mirrored in your tongue. So when you speak, you build nations to come. And there's no way you can hold back. The night cannot hold back dawn. Weaving darkness into light, you've been sharpening your tools. Cause doubt is a dull knife. Fear, a useless maze that comes right back around, swallowing beginnings before they can be found. Let's see.
Maybe even one more time, please, Kumkum.
Sure.
It's a very difficult poem.
Really? Okay. So you're reading more into it than I have. But for all my young sisters, you were born of stardust, crafted from the sun. The universe is mirrored in your tongue. So when you speak, you build nations to come, and there's no way you can hold back. The night cannot hold back dawn. Weaving darkness into light, you've been sharpening your tools. Cause doubt is a dull knife, fear a useless maze that comes right back around, swallowing beginnings before they can be found. The end.
Okay, you seem to think it's very easy then, but Kumkum, we won't let you start the discussion. Somebody else who thinks they've gotten it.
Let me state what I think it is. I don't think
Okay.
it's an easy poem or difficult poem. I think it's a lovely poem. And I happen to know the context that it was written in because my daughter knows the author. So that may have made it easier. But
Mhm. Okay, but textually, what are we getting here? Line by line. Can anybody take us with confidence through these lines?
Well, the very first the stanza, the first paragraph is extremely straightforward. I think it's written in a very simple language. It tells you exactly what the poet is enunciating and wants to express about the power of women. But the second paragraph, in conjunction with the first, there's just a lot of difference in writing styles suddenly. I feel these two paragraphs are very, very differently. While the second one is thought-provoking, and the first one is like pretty straightforward. That's what I'm reading.
Okay, give us a paraphrase then, Vivek. What is?
I'm very bad at that, Harbans.
But
Somebody else
no,
should do it.
explain what you understand by the. You say it's very straightforward and
Yeah, well, yeah,
easy.
the first few lines are, of course, like you're talking of the power of women, that they have, that the way they are born of stardust. These are very like lofty and amazingly beautiful ideas. You're crafted from the sun. I mean, this is like being like almost like a goddess. The universe is mirrored in your tongue. That means whatever you speak, however you speak, is absolutely like the universal truth and amazing. And when you speak, you build nations to come. That means, with the power that you have within you, your words, your deeds, you can be leaders. And there's no way you can hold back the night. The night can't hold back dawn. So it's very obvious that, we all know that the night can't hold back the dawn. The dawn will always come. It's, again, the victory of women over everything, which is there commonly in what, as we understand in nature. It's there for all to see.
It's like a coming of age.
Then
Okay.
then it gets difficult. Kind of difficult. Somebody take over. Harbans?
I can take over for the second part, all right, because I find the second part easier than the first. But I'll just say I found what I found difficult was you were born of stardust, dust crafted from the sun. You seem to take that very easily. I'm not sure what exactly that means in this context of my young sisters.
This is like
they're trying to say that you're born of light. Stardust, sun is all brightness and light. They're trying to say with the darkness that is to come later in the second stanza. And even in the first stanza, in the end, he's saying the night can't hold back dawn. So it's contrasting light with darkness. So
yeah.
what
It's
the
like a
author-
paradoxical. It's like a paradoxical kind of a thing.
And as for me, in this, I'll say something before you have your say on the second paragraph,
Please.
which is, of course, stanza, which is, I think, very difficult. But what the poet is probably trying to say is that, everybody else has been trying to weave darkness into light. This is probably a woman author who's saying this to all her younger sisters, which means to all women all over the world, that there are forces that work against you, and those forces have been sharpening their tools, and doubt and fear and all that is trying to swallow beginnings that that you should rightfully be having. Now that's my preliminary take. I'm sure you'll have the final word on it.
No, all of that is good.
Well, and I also want to say the sun is a star, right? The stars are all suns. They're just further away, so they look smaller. So what she's saying, the way I look at it, is that you are part of this, you're made of stardust, you're made of sun, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
And
that's what I found difficult, that it's a very, very high idea that we're made of stardust. We're made from the stardust in space, which is the result of the cosmos exploding and then reforming, and planets and so on. So we are made of something that far away. To bring that into the young sisters, that's the part I could not fathom. That if this was really stardust and the sun.
It's just about the light, I think. It's just about saying that you're bright and light, and comparing it to the darkness.
I think that's easier. That's easier.
Can I say something? Can I say
Please,
something?
Vinay, yeah.
Yeah, I feel this is like a coming of age about these young sisters, and they're being told that you have the world at your feet, your confidence, and you're made of stardust. Go for it. And of course, there will be darkness later on in your life. So sharpen your tools. Don't be a fool. And doubt is always a dull knife. I mean, there's no need to doubt yourself. Whether you're doubting other people is a different point. Again, the same thing is like a girl is being told you're stepping into the world and you are made of the most wonderful things. Never doubt yourself. And fear is useless. So in fact, my whole thing feels that it's like a coming of age. A young girl is stepping into the world, and
it's an encouragement. It's an encouragement to the young girls.
Yeah.
We agree on that. We're just trying to crack the line by line meaning of these words. And for example, weaving darkness into light, I think that actually is related to the line above. The night can't hold back dawn, weaving darkness into light. I think those two lines actually probably go together. How else would, who is weaving darkness into light?
The opposite meanings. I thought the night can't hold back. That's a very optimistic statement. Whereas the second stanza starts with this, that there's somebody who's trying to weave darkness into light.
No, if there is darkness, weave it into light. If there is a dark point in your life, weave a web to make it a light situation again.
Okay, well, so then the subject is the you.
If I may say something, I think weaving, the way I read it, is weaving darkness into light. It reflects what women have been doing. They've been waiting in the darkness. Yeah. And the darkness is what has existed in the last 10,000 years of history, where women have been suppressed, right? The night can't hold back dawn. That force that's held us back cannot hold us back, because night cannot hold back dawn, right? Weaving darkness into light, you've been sharpening your tools. You've been waiting in this darkness. And what you've been doing, you haven't wasted it. You've been sharpening your tools, right? Cause doubt, and you've been doing that because you've had doubt, but it's a dull knife. You've had fear. it's a useless maze, you know. So following beginnings
Yeah.
before, so she describes what fear is. So don't have doubt, don't have fear. You've been waiting, you've been sharpening your tools, and just go ahead. You made a stardust. That's the way I read it.
But then how do you explain the last two lines, following beginnings before they can be found? That doesn't fit.
That is what doubt does, right? When you have doubt, you swallow the beginnings before you can even start, right? You have doubt, you don't even start. You're just in fear.
Right.
So it's a beautiful poem, and yes, we can go into every single word and every single sentence and all of that. But looking at it from a global perspective, I think it is the creative potential of women. What we do during labor is that we weave the pain of labor, and we put together molecules of matter into a creative being. And through the pain or / darkness, we actually weave together new life. So in that new life, we are creating a new vision, a new future. It's new. So the creative potential of my young sisters, even the doubt that you have, even the darkness in your life, you have the potential, and you already are doing it, because that line where you cannot stop doing what it is in your nature to do. So it is like, there is always dawn after darkness. So it's not something that you do to get the dawn. It naturally happens. So you are part of that natural process, and you're doing it all the time. So beautiful poem.
Okay, I think we've cracked it there. I think all the aspects have come out now. Is there anybody who wants still to say something? Because we have to move on, and this poem has had its 15-20 minutes.
I know Raj is going to ask me the name of the poet. It's in the book. These are two girls. They're a lesbian couple, and they're very delightful. They live in Brooklyn, but I'm forgetting the name of the author. So I will find the book and put the name, or I'll ask my daughter the name. You always ask for the name, Raj.
Well, later on we do, because we need to write to them as well, of course.
I will write to them. To them.
Very good. Thank you so much, Kumkum. I think you can take your car ride to New York now. And keep in touch. Keep listening.
Yes.
Okay, next poem coming up. Vivek Ji.
Oh, I was trying to look up the names of these people that Kumkum was missing. Anyway,
you do that, because
we'll come across that.
while people read the poem, you can be doing that.
Welcome to Harbir.
Hi, good to see you all.
Haven't seen you for some weeks now.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. I've been
Harbir.
down. I mean, good to see you all.
Welcome, Harbir Ji.
Well, good to see you. It's a very, very sunny day in London, sitting outside in the garden, sunshine. So I'm back at a place because I was moving. So I've been involved in moving for the last 6 months.
There's a poem on the WhatsApp group post. Harbir, if you have that, you could be following it there.
Oh, the poetry by Vivek.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the one.
Okay. Although batteries.
Ready? Ready?
Is everybody ready?
Ready?
Ready.
Okay, the poem is called At Least. I want to get up early one morning before sunrise, before the birds even. I want to throw cold water on my face and be at my work table when the sky lightens and smoke begins to rise from the chimneys on the other houses. I want to see the waves break on this rocky beach, not just hear them break as I did all night in my sleep. I want to see again the ships that pass through the strait from every seafaring country in the world. Old, dirty freighters just barely moving along, and the swift new cargo vessels painted every color under the sun that cut the water as they pass. I want to keep an eye out for them, and for that little boat that plies the water between the ships and the pilot station near the lighthouse. I want to see them take a man off the ship and put another one up on board. I want to spend the day watching this happen and reach my own conclusions. I hate to seem greedy. I have so much to be thankful for already. But I want to get up early one more morning, at least, and go to my place with some coffee and wait, just wait to see what's going to happen. Thank you.
Well, this is a very enjoyable poem. We enjoy the scene and we participate in this window scene, and how nice it would be to have a table looking onto the sea like this. But what else is going on? What else are we getting in this poem? One question I want to ask straight away is, at least, what does this at least mean? At least one morning. It's
Because he doesn't have all this. He says, at least give me that one morning.
Because he doesn't have so many mornings?
Maybe he doesn't have so many mornings or not that many things to look forward to.
See, there is a somber note in this poem.
Very somber.
There's a somber note about the waves breaking in his sleep all night, and this at least one morning, my last morning, if only one morning,
one more morning. Just
one more morning. I mean, this has a kind of a pessimistic tone to it, but the whole of the poem is so happy that I don't think it's a poem of somebody who's ill and saying, oh, I wish I can just have one morning to look at my window before I get more ill and I can't do it anymore. I tried that interpretation, but I don't think that fits. So what does it mean, this at least?
I feel it means that not really as
I think
it doesn't seem to say.
Who's speaking? I didn't catch.
Chitra.
Chitra.
No, yeah.
Chitra.
But I thought it meant that the person is probably not able to, do it regularly. So he wants one more morning. Maybe he's ill, he or she. And I think
And why is he ill?
Ill, I think so. It sounds like that, doesn't it?
Or maybe
I would tend to agree with what Chitra says, that it's somebody, maybe he's going in for some serious operation or something, and he's reflecting that, you know, give me one more morning when I can come and do this again.
Serious operation, Zafar. Why serious operation? Meaning he'll come out of it? It's not
Meaning he may
terminal?
not come out of it. Meaning the likelihood of his coming out of it is slim. So he's putting forth this wish that he come out of it and be able to experience a morning like that one more time, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that this might be the idea too, but it's too happy. The descriptions are too happy.
Or maybe he might be just thinking of he's going away somewhere where he can't come back and see the place. So on the optimistic side.
The way this sits with me is that this poet is wanting stillness in his life. Just this. So he's craving it. So he's just one morning, I want to do this. Just one more. So he's craving that kind of not the doing aspect of things, but the being aspects of things. Just sitting, just seeing.
He seems to have enjoyed this regularly. It's his workstation.
The last two lines, you know, where he says that, and go to my, but I want to get up early one more morning at least. And then he says, and go to my place with some coffee and wait. Just wait to see what's going to happen. Probably indicative of what you have already thought, that something serious is about to happen, and he's craving for that, just one more normal morning that he wants to have, at least one more morning before he either dies or goes in for that surgery or whatever. Or maybe goes to jail.
Oh God.
But Rahul, I think the just wait to see what's going to happen is not what's going to happen to him, but what's going to happen in the scenery of his window. And so, and in fact, there's one very juicy line in there, which is, I want to make my own conclusions. I want to spend the day watching this happen, ships moving and boats moving, and reach my own conclusions. And that's a very, it says a lot. It means I can then imagine who's doing what to whom, what this ship is saying to that, or this boat is doing about this. It's a place of rumination and daydreaming and speculation. And that's the fun of watching this scene from the window. So I think that's what this thing is about. It's watching a scene and daydreaming and making up stories in your own mind. And I want to do this one more time before, and we don't know what, before something happens. And at least
I think that line, it says, I hate to seem greedy. I have so much to be thankful for already.
I didn't catch Chitra. Come nearer the microphone.
No, I said this line, it says, I hate to seem greedy. I have so much to be thankful for already. So it does seem like a sort of, end of life or something like that. I mean, to me, it seems something like that. But I'm not asking for too much. I've got a lot. I'm thankful for what I have had. And so I don't want to seem greedy, but I just want this one more morning, at least, in which I can get up and watch.
Yeah, I think that's how that fits in, yeah. So it is a poem about imminent disaster or even death,
Something.
illness. Are we all
Well,
agreeing
it's
on this?
potential
Actually, no,
disaster or
I'm
death.
not agreeing on that at all. I don't know. I don't know that. What I am sensing into is his desire that day. And his desire that day is to not reach conclusions. And we are trying to reach conclusions that this might happen or that might happen. So while reading this poem, I also wish to not reach the conclusions of the poet, but allow him to do that, but just sit with his desire. That's the way I'm enjoying this poem.
Wait, Minnie. We're all agreed. We don't want to put words into the mouth of the poet or over-interpret it. But I think this is very much in the poem. It's in the title. Otherwise, what else does it mean? At least one more time, one last time. This idea is very much in the poem.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm also not agreeing that that is the only way to interpret it. That could be one. I find it more enjoyable to sit with the desire that the poet has put in it, and walk with him in that desire, and then see where he goes. That's of less importance to me. So I'm not disagreeing, but I'm also not agreeing that that's the only conclusion.
Okay, well, we won't argue against that. Anybody else want to say something?
Yeah, so more than anything else, what I read into the poem as I read it was that we really shouldn't take these small things for granted that happen to us every day. There are unexpected things that happen at unexpected moments. You look out your window and there's suddenly maybe a hummingbird flying, you could be seeing whatever. And it's probably just that particular moment where you should realize that these things are heavenly, beautiful, and not to be taken for granted. I'm not so sure about this whole death angle and this thing. I personally feel it's like just basically enjoying the imagery that this poem throws out. There's such rich imagery as you read through it. It's very simple things that make you happy and excited. And, he's probably like, this whole thing about like watching the waves crash against the rocks rather than just have them in his dreams or in his sleep. It excites him. It makes him happy to actually see that happen. And I guess he's also trying to do what I could read into it is that there's some things that maybe he hasn't had time to enjoy. And now he's reflecting perhaps in his old age, looking out and just enjoying life. So I don't really know where this...
But it also says at least. The whole poem is about at least. That
and one
let me please, it's like an imploring that let me see at least one more such dawn and be by the sea.
No, so the way I read it, so if you notice there's a comma before at least, but I want to get up early one more morning, at least. So that for me means that like just the very little, the bare minimum thing I would love to enjoy are all these beautiful sights. And I mean, just find my own little happiness.
I feel the comma says it all because it says pause and then it says at least, which means that, the at least part is the important part. That is what he's emphasizing.
The at least applies to the one more morning, at least.
Yes, one more morning at least is like an implore. I implore you, give me one more morning, at least one more morning.
Yeah.
So something is imminent or potentially imminent, and he's looking for, a wish that he would have at least one more
morning.
Right.
I agree, Zafar.
I guess you could read that. Anyway, I read it in a slightly different way, that is like the least common multiple that I would have in my life to be able to, just sit at my window and enjoy whatever I'm seeing. Anyway, it's a lovely poem, I thought.
I think there is a problem in this whole thing, or I don't know if this is a problem. that the scenery is delightful. It is,
Yeah.
we get the enjoyment of this window scene. And we're far removed from any idea of death and horror. And so this poem is about that enjoyment and is giving us that enjoyment, although textually he's signing off to say, well, this
Because
is going to be my last evening or last
that's what,
morning. Or,
yeah, that's what I mean. It's like a last wish that,
yeah.
okay, I'm ready to go. And it's beautiful. He's enjoying this beautiful place. So it's all beautiful. It's gorgeous. Even the old dirty freighters are gorgeous. But he says it's the last time. At least let me have a look at it one more time, please.
I think also, if you look at the things that he is witnessing, they are not that unusual for somebody who's lived in that space for a long time. I mean, for you and me, who don't wake up to an ocean close by, it's different. But for him, it's a normal part of his life.
Yeah.
But he notices all the small things: the birds, the lights, the chimney, the smokes from the chimneys, the waves breaking. All of these things are more, more visible to him and more important to him all of a sudden, because at the back of his mind, he knows that this may be the last opportunity.
Why?
And he wishes for one more.
Yeah, it's the observation.
Why he and not she? Why
I'm sorry,
he,
Rajan?
Why he and not she?
Oh, well, he or she, doesn't matter.
We'll know.
Well,
Vivek will tell us who it is.
it's a he, and I've already posted his name in just below the poem. He's actually a very famous American short story writer. Of course, he's no more. And most of a lot of his stories have been made into films. If you guys know this famous director called Robert Altman, he's made a film called Shortcuts. So it's written by this gentleman. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he's known.
Sorry, I got it wrong.
And even the last line, just wait, comma. So just wait to see what's going to happen. So it's like a very final kind of a thing.
No, but sometimes, Vinay, sorry, that I'm just saying one last sentence, is that sometimes, when you sit out on your chair and you look up at the sky, suddenly, I mean, you see those clouds every day, but then suddenly a cloud takes a certain shape and you say, wow, it's like, suddenly you'll see a camel or you're an angel.
Yeah.
So I think it's that. That's what I thought he was talking about. He just wants to wait to see what's going to happen, because every day it's different.
I know that we've taken
every
more
day there's a
time
new
than
shape.
we should over the poem, but I want to go over the last two lines. So he says that I want to get up early one more morning at least and go to my place with some coffee and wait. Just wait to see what's going to happen. It's like there's some doomsday scenario happening here.
Not doomsday. Anyway, we can go on forever.
Yeah, you're right.
Chalo. Next poem coming up. Submitted by Raj. Raj, it's a long poem in your series which you're giving us, and the series continues, and it's going to be posted up right now. It's a long poem, so again, we need 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to read it slowly, because it's also a serious subject. think there's a spelling mistake or a slip, a typing mistake in there. It's lunch to eat rather than heat. I
It's-
should
No, it's
I should have.
deliberately. No,
It's deliberate.
No, it's deliberately done.
Oh, it's lunch to heat. Okay. Well,
Poetic. It's a little more than poetic license. So
well, I'm glad I didn't touch it. I'm glad I didn't touch it.
will be explained.
Please carry on. I'm just coming back.
So Raj, it's a very intense poem, I must say.
Thank you, Vinay.
Why don't you start reading it now?
I'm waiting for our chair. Kursi.
You
Kursi.
can have to read
Kursi
it
ko aane do.
Kursi ke liye.
But
I love the line, the love of a lifetime came by, a raven settled behind my pillow. Very nice, very beautifully thought out.
Thank you.
so the raven means bad luck and he's going to die.
Hopefully not.
No.
But yes, a raven, I don't know, like a devil.
No, actually.
Okay, you tell us after you've read the poem.
So, are we ready, everybody?
I'm ready.
Okay,
Yes.
Raj, away you go. Tell us.
The emergency ward. 30 hours in the emergency ward. Why am I here? There is so much to do. I have to teach. Come, I'll give you books for your children. In my order, I crossed the line on the floor. They put me back on the bed. My neighbor cursed the nurse for delaying his coffee, started singing. Joined it. I'm no singer. Nurse, I hear voices, he yelled. Next morning, out he checked, without adieus or looks backward. The love of a lifetime came by. A raven settled behind my pillow. Hopped around looking its lunch to heat. This, despite a rule clearly stated, a sign prominently posted, visitors will wait in the lobby, wait in the lobby. The camel's back broke. Reminded the guard of the rule, hid in the restroom till the coast cleared, preventing a big black lady from using it, emerged no raven to find. This was but a temporary reprieve, though clouded in parts, rays of reason pierced the mind. End this, be free, untrammeled. If you consort with someone whose behavior is inappropriate, you are culpable, the more so if the other will not accept the truth. The decision made, the path clear, all that remained was to survive. Minor ordeals, MRI, misstatements to friends, this too did pass away.
Very nice, Rajan.
Thank you.
Well, who is going to have a go at deciphering this various parts? Rahul, you go. You always have a good critique of the poem.
Well, this describes the ordeal in the emergency ward and the little reprieve that the Raven gave, or the fact that the neighboring patient he checked out, and
Nadia, I'm busy. Can't talk.
little flashes of memory that came. But then what stands out is that he was able to. The poet was able to see reason, see rays of reason that cleared his clouded mind, and he was able to summon the strength to get past it.
Yes, but how? What do you understand by if you consort with someone whose behavior is inappropriate, you are culpable, the more so if the other will not accept the truth? It seems this idea was the decision that made him see the road clearly ahead and to come out and to survive and so on. So what does this mean if you consort with someone whose behavior is inappropriate?
I think this is, again, one of Raj's very personal notes. And I think he's describing his earlier experience in the emergency room where, he's there and the way he is acting with his neighbors. There's a lot of people who are there for mental reasons. And he describes his behavior towards his neighbor. And then he goes on to talk about, I believe, is the love of his life coming in. And she is not being aware of his need and not recognizing, that she is at wrong. And I think that the Raven is her, and he's just fighting it. And until he can overcome that, I recognize that the behavior is inappropriate, you're stuck there.
Wait. So the wife is the Raven?
That's my take.
Okay. But he sees her as a raven, runs into the bathroom, then comes out and then makes the decision. If you consort with someone whose behavior is inappropriate, you are culpable. So he is able to say to the Raven, you are inappropriate, and so therefore
he says to himself that if I consort with this Raven, I am culpable.
Okay. And that decision gives him the path to
the
peace.
Freedom. Yes.
And this Raven in the poem looks like like a hallucination.
A raven is like, I don't know, of course, Raj knows better, but a raven is like somebody who's come to pronounce or announce something not so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it says hopped around looking to its lunch to eat. So he wants the heat.
Looking for a fight.
No. Actually, I'll tell you, basically looking for a microwave oven.
I'm sorry?
Well,
Who's speaking?
okay.
Looking for a microwave oven.
But why would there be a microwave oven in the middle of an emergency room where the love of your life suddenly comes in?
Exactly.
How does it link up?
I'll tell you. So basically, so here's the love of my life, and she's looking for a microwave oven in the emergency ward.
Okay,
There's
she is. Oh,
she is.
okay.
That's part of the problem, right? And there is a sign that says clearly visitors are not allowed in the emergency ward.
Yeah.
They are to wait in the lobby. Okay. So, so uh, knowing that there is absolutely no point to address the quote unquote raven, all right, the patient goes hiding in the restroom till the raven is evicted and moved into the uh, into the lobby or wherever. All right. So that's
So, can we just clarify? So, in the poem, and are we to understand raven is just a kind of a swear word for this wife who turns up, like the black raven turned up for real, or is this a hallucination of a bird?
so let me explain where that comes from. The raven comes from from the poem by Edgar Allan Poe called The Raven.
Yes, yes, there is a poem like that, yeah.
Right, in which basically the raven comes in and uh, whenever he talks about sweet Lenore, the raven says nevermore.
Yes.
Can I get rid of you? It says nevermore. So basically that's the implication. You come in, all right, you're in my life forever, and it's nevermore. Okay. And at this point,
I
it's
see.
You absolutely want to. Sorry, go ahead.
In the poem, the description of the person going into the toilet, did he see his real wife, or he saw a raven?
He saw his wife.
He saw his real wife and he calls her the raven.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was not quite as hallucinatory as it appears.
Okay, it's
No,
not a
I'm sure.
hallucination.
No. So the camel's back broke, which means that he'd had enough. No more could be taken.
Yeah.
And he reminds the guard of the rules so that he can get the raven out of the room and hides till the time that the raven hasn't left.
Right. So I kind of shortened it for a little bit, and that, see, I knew that if I did not leave, she would not go. Right.
Okay, so this.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said that if I was still there,
she wouldn't go.
She wouldn't go.
Yeah.
So
this was but a temporary reprieve.
Sorry, Vinay, just repeat what you said.
I said, so this, as you write, this was but a temporary reprieve.
Yeah.
Though clouded in parts, rays of reason pierce the mind, end this, be free, untroubled. So you wanted to be free of the person who was the love of your life?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do there is contrast the two differences. One is where the mind is in confusion. Okay. The mind is in confusion, but there are.
I give her cashes.
But there are there are very clear.
Yeah, rays of reason.
Yeah. So it's like you suddenly see that the state of affairs cannot continue.
Yeah.
Put your slippers in here, and are you going to wear sneakers? Do you want to take? You can put your shoes in there. Okay.
Kumkum. Hi, Kumkum. You seem to be packing.
Yeah, she's muted now.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
No problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and there there's one last point that I wanted to ask my classmates, Zafar Khan and Chitra, okay? And that is, do you remember Bhikshu Chamanlal?
Do you remember who?
Bhikshu,
Yeah,
Bhikshu
yeah.
Chamanlal.
The schools.
No,
when
I
he came-
don't.
Yeah. See, this guy,
Water of India one.
no, that is that Professor Yan.
Acha.
This was a bhikshu converted, I mean, a Buddhist monk.
Monk. Yeah, yeah. I remember
And-
he came to Lovedale as well.
And what his statement was, whenever you are in any trouble or anything, remember this too shall pass.
Help us. Okay.
Oh,
that's-
yeah, I remember that statement very clearly. I didn't remember the name of the man. Right.
Please repeat the joke, the line.
It's it's a very serious line. It's basically, I don't know. So it's probably, so you are 1 year senior to us. So maybe it wasn't. So there was this person who visited Sanawar, and he had been 29 times around the world without a passport. Okay. And he gave us a talk. At the end of it, he said, always remember, this too shall pass away.
It's a very famous line.
It's a very
Actually, he
famous
said,
line, yes.
and this too shall pass.
I remember him very clearly. I remember this guy very clearly. He was after a morning assembly or something, Major
Yeah.
Sundat would put him in front and he would give us his talk. None of us paid attention. And then at the end, he would say, and this too shall, and we would all say, pass away.
Actually, Rajan, that's a very profound statement. It's been with me forever. And I remember it as, and this too shall pass away.
Yeah. So that's the last.
And I don't think it's pass away. It's just pass. And this too shall pass.
That's what my
It's
recollection.
not pass away, it's just pass.
Oh,
This too
and
shall
I
pass.
switched it. See, and I switched it to this too did pass away. That is
Yeah.
basically that eventually I recovered from all that. Yes.
And I shall survive, like that.
Mm.
This too shall pass and I will survive.
Yeah.
Like you did, basically. So
Nice. Very nice.
Very good, Raj. We're very glad you survived. You're hale and hearty,
thank you so
and
much.
you're educating us on what it means to go through an illness like this, and to have a raven of a wife, and what you need to do if you do have one. And it's a very brave thing you did, and I'm glad it was the happiest, I'm sure it was the happiest day of your life to escape from such a prison.
Actually, it's a little bit different. So basically, this was sad, incredibly, in a way sad, essentially because it was really the love of a lifetime. 40 years, over 40 years. Okay. And
Yeah.
These are hard partings.
Yeah.
But love is like that. This is a whole big subject we have to talk about another day, another poem. Let's move on. Here I'm going to give you the next poem by Rahul, and in a totally different vein. And here it comes. Uh-oh, did it come? No, not yet.
You said the same one again, I think.
Oh, it was, I didn't copy properly, and I'm sorry, I sent you the same one again. Sorry about that, but here's the right poem. It's called The Old Pond, submitted by Rahul.
It is just 3 lines.
It is just 3 lines, but 3 very deep lines.
What I mean to say that,
deep. It's a very
yeah, what I meant to say was
old
that the poem is come now.
The name of the poem is The Old Pond. and should be called the Old and Deep Pond because it's a very deep poem.
Should I start?
Let people absorb the possibilities.
It's
You've got to turn it over in your mind before you jump to conclusions or into the pond.
Well,
Okay, away you go, Rahul.
old pond. An old silent pond. A frog jumps into the pond. Splash. Silence again.
yeah, pretty short.
I'll read it again. An old silent pond. A frog jumps into the pond. Splash. Silence again.
Silence again.
I think
Why
it's an
don't
old
silence
person
stay?
suffering from Alzheimer, and occasionally their mind opens up and something clicks and then it disappears again.
That was deep.
Well, I think we need to have a little discussion on what a haiku is.
Haiku.
I mean, this is a
This
haiku.
a haiku. Is it a haiku?
It's
Yes,
like
yes.
a haiku.
It's a haiku.
Maybe there are
Please define a
technical.
haiku for me.
See, the haiku is written in the format of 5-7-5. First line has to have 5 syllables, second 7, and the third 5 again. And the two distinguishing things are that one is that it has to have a kireji, that is a place where it is called the cutting word, where the poem changes. Like in this poem, splash, after splash, the exclamation is the kireji. And the second thing is that it should be indicative of the season. I'm forgetting the Japanese word for it, but it has to have that element also.
Yeah, it should have the about which season you're talking about.
Which season we are talking about. And this is, of course, a very, very famous classic example of a haiku. It's been written 450 years ago by one of the great masters of haiku poetry. And it has of course, very deep meanings.
I like Zafar's meaning about the Alzheimer's and
What?
no, the whole thing that maybe there's some dementia or everything is gone.
A person
sad.
suffering from dementia,
Yeah.
their mind is closed most of the time, and then occasionally it'll open up and let in a thought equivalent to a frog jumping into the pond, and then the mind closes again and they're lost.
Mm-hmm.
Hardman seems to have a smile on his face. He seems to have interpreted it in a different manner altogether.
No,
So
I'm
hear your
perplexed.
interpretation.
I'm perplexed. And I thought we should first start, before we analyze this particular haiku, we should just talk about how a haiku works. And in particular, I'm interested to know if in the world of haikus, it is accepted that a haiku can mean any number of things, or are the best haikus able to say what they have to say in a fairly narrow way. And if you know how to read the haiku correctly, all those who know how to read the haiku correctly will all come to the same conclusion. In other words, the haiku has a determinate, precise meaning, and you should be able to get it from the poem. I want to ask this question, or is a haiku always open-ended interpretable in any number of ways, and each is as good as the other.
I think that's what
Rahul,
a
answer my
haiku is.
question.
Yeah.
Well, the few poems that I have read, I think they've all come to one precise conclusion. But indeed, what I just realized after I heard Zafar speak is that it's so many different interpretations that you can have. What he said made as much sense as what the author must have thought when he wrote that, or how it has been interpreted widely.
Yeah, I think haikus are too plastic. The number of words is so small, and the permutations on those numbers are so many that the possible senses are really in the thousands, and therefore, and because there's no context, it's very hard to say that the poem, the haiku, has a specific, sharp destination, meaning, point. And so all haikus will always have this uncertainty of what they're trying to say. And how do we therefore appreciate what they have to say? We have to appreciate all the different possible meanings which they evoke in us, and just enjoy the different meanings that come out from these same few words. Maybe that's how we should look at a haiku.
Well, I don't know how many of you remember, but every time there was, after lots of rain, there used to be like a sunny day in Sanaa. We would get a sunshine holiday.
Yes.
And you remember that? And we used to walk across to this place called Eagle's Nest and, walk into the pines. And I remember very clearly there used to be this small little pond there.
Lovers pond.
Which probably nobody ever in their lives ever, this pond was actually just lying there empty, vacant, with nobody visiting it. And suddenly we would all crowd around and like there'd be all this action and then we'd leave at this pond. So that was the first image that came to my mind. And honestly, Lovers Pond. Yeah. And the second image that came to my mind was that, if you're sitting in a hilly place or a place that is dark and you look up at the sky and the whole sky is ablaze with stars, it's so still and quiet. And then suddenly there's a shooting star that zips across the heavens.
Very
and
true.
Then there's again there's that huge silence all over again. That momentary excitement, when something amazing happens out of the blue. So that was the second thing that came to my mind when I read this. But yes, haikus, I think, are pretty open to interpretation. I don't know whether the poet is, they're all very deep-seated. They're all very Rumi-like in their, essence. But you need to read. You always need to read it 3-4 times.
Yeah. I feel that a haiku, the author of a haiku, he probably has one meaning in mind, but it's just left to everybody's imagination, because it, like you are saying, a shooting star, Zafar is talking about dementia. So various things, it could be interpreted anyway, but I think the author has one idea in mind.
I think it means that the frog hadn't learned to swim.
Okay.
Give you the popular interpretation, like this one I have read. I think it makes sense because what it tries to convey is the meditative state of the mind, the old silent pond being the mind, and a thought jumps into the pond, into the mind, creates a splash, and then there's silence again, which means the person's gone back into his meditation after that thought disturbed him for a while. And the context is that when the poet, which is a person called Matsuo Basho, one of the 4 great masters for haikus, or hokku as it is called there, is somebody who was attending this poets festival around an old pond where the given theme was frog. So they were to write a poem, and this is what he came up with, and this is considered one of the best haiku poems that has been written.
So actually, I guess then what you're saying, Rahul, is that haiku poems obviously must have been written in Japanese. So
Yeah.
the translator has to be like an amazing person to, convey that whole sense in just those few syllables, which are restrictive, right?
Yes, and yes, and of course keep the syllable count the same and stick to the meaning.
Yeah.
Translate this poem literally. The last line doesn't have silence again. It has splash and sound of water. Now he's made it splash, exclamation, silence again.
So so I guess it's like also goes to the credit of the translator
Yes. And this translator has put in and there's so many translations. This is said to be the best translation. And he's put the kireji after, that is the cutting word, after splash. Whereas Basho gave the kireji after an old silent pond. So he said the old silent pond, full stop, and instead a frog jumps into the pond, splash, sounds of water. That's the literal translation.
So just as a matter of interest, is it Japanese haiku mainly on natural things?
Yes, so many I have read. There are almost all of them about nature, and of course, since the season plays an important role, then they have to be around nature.
Where is the season? The season has to be in the name, inside the poem. Where's the season part?
So they have inferred that this refers to the springtime because there's no sign of any raindrops or disturbing the pond, or even when it rains there is sound. The pond is still, since the frog is active, it's not frozen, so therefore they inferred that it is spring.
So I have a question, Rahul, as you're so knowledgeable about haikus. I came across haikus in a Buddhist magazine. So were most of the haiku writers Buddhists? I've never really read haikus anywhere else except in that magazine. Or is it just a Japanese tradition, a haiku? I mean, I know Buddhism.
It's a Japanese tradition, but it so happens that most of the masters have been Buddhist monks. Even Matsuo Basho was a Buddhist monk.
Thank you.
But there's no internal connection between Buddhism and the Buddhist tradition and haikus.
No, there is none. I think it's more of a Japanese tradition. It's just incidental that this person was also, not even a proper monk. He kind of renounced everything and he would just travel around, and as time went by, he started writing poetry. So
no, but Buddhism was very prevalent in Japan. Even now, it is the prevalent religion in Japan.
Yes.
So I don't know if it was born out of Buddhist meditations or it just evolved. I just read it the first time in a Buddhist magazine, and like you said, there was a definite explanation. There would be a couplet. I didn't know there was a format of 3, 5, 7 or whatever, but it wasn't open to interpretation. There would be a haiku written, and then a lot of discussion, or the person who had written the article, and then a final meaning. This is what it means. So, but that's what I know about haikus.
Yes, the few I have read also, I think they were all kind of had only one interpretation on it. And yes, they're all about nature. And now that you mention it, they're all kind of about, they have a common Buddhist thread. You can see that. It's either about meditation or about how the world is seen through, maybe a religious person or a monk or whatever.
I mean, just talking about nature and Japan, the only time I remember when I visited Japan in the cherry blossom season, all the Japanese slept in the park outside, Because normally this is their custom, sleep in the park on a special night so that they can have more children. So this is like a lover's night in the open. So, but obviously haiku, I mean, they could make it a bit larger than this and explain a bit better. So any haikus on cherry blossoms, Raj or Rahul?
Okay.
Not that I read.
Okay, Rahul, thank you very much for introducing us to this whole subject of haikus, and maybe in future sessions you'll give us some more. You could give us 2 or 3 in one go, because
Yes.
they're so small. Could have a bigger ration. Okay, chaps, I'm going to give you one last poem. Coming to you now, submitted by myself. Are we nearly ready? Okay, I think you've had a go. So, in a working women's hostel, the evening is an experience of high tide. Is there a problem? I heard somebody say something.
It was yawning.
Okay. In a working women's hostel, the evening is an experience of high tide. I escape. 12 stories above the city, the terrace is my great outdoors. 350 rupees per month to meet God is not much at all. Somewhere along the skyscraper skyline, I walk to and fro, a nun without a vocation. Am I lonely, or am I a loner? The difference must be resolved quickly now. My private communion is overlooked by superior balconies, terraces. The sun makes a weeding finale. a henna-colored horizon, smudged eyeshadow clouds. A patchwork of lights coming on compete gaudily with the stars. The rising full moon tells a familiar story. A breeze purrs, inspires fear. I trip over the silver wings fluttering on the crazy floor. A distant sea roars in my ears. Up here, flight is a dangerous illusion. Crying is a terminal argument. I return to my room.
So if I may just, again, just talk about the imagery this throws up, it's continuing with Rahul's little haiku. This is very familiar in the sense that there's this, somebody who is probably bound down by traditions of, communion, praying, being surrounded by superior, mother superior, etc. It's this whole little private moment that this person gains by climbing up to the top of the building and experiencing this profound beauty or this whole thought process of such amazing alacrity, huge in every respect. And then once the breeze starts blowing and, probably there's some fluttering with either that fluttering, I didn't quite understand, but it could be possibly moths, coming towards the light. And suddenly this whole illusion is broken, this whole make-believe world, and you go back to your silent pond again.
Vivek, you're missing the point.
Which is?
This is about, am I lonely or am I a loner? And this is a poem about, should I throw myself overboard?
Yeah. And vocation or, there's
Up here, flight is a dangerous illusion. Crying is a terminal argument. If I let myself go down this road of thinking about too much about loneliness and sadness and the point of life, I better cut this short and go inside, because you never know where that whole argument will take you.
a nun without a vocation.
And what is a private communion overlooked by superior?
It's this pondering inside her head about, am I lonely or not lonely? What's the meaning of my life? What am I up to? This whole communion she's having with herself is being overlooked by superior balconies. She's on her balcony. She's a working woman. She's a working woman in a hostel where, hostels are often religious places, and that's where some of this nun part comes in. But I don't think, this is not actually a religious poem. It's a poem, it's a philosophical poem about standing at a great height and wondering what you're here on earth for.
Yeah, she's on the terrace and the balconies overlook her.
Yeah.
See?
The other people, other balconies that are overlooking her. It's a poem about a working girl in Bombay.
Yeah.
When prices were very low, 350 rupees a month is very cheap to meet God up there. And this is a poem about being a single person in a big city.
Is there some thought here about committing suicide?
It's in the air. That's what this poem is
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
A breeze pulse inspires fear. Okay. I trip over the silver wings fluttering on the crazy floor. I would say that that's, you know,
Imagination.
yeah.
And this-
Also, there's the whole tone, you know. I'm lonely, I'm a loner, I don't have a vocation, you know. Sort of.
No, but there's also a lot of pretty imagery here. There's about the sun making a wedding finale, henna
Yes.
colored horizon.
Yes.
This is what I'm saying.
This is
That
all very beautiful.
slightly-
It's not necessarily somebody contemplating death.
No, no, no.
Crying-
This is
Not
Crying is a no. So like crying is a terminal argument.
Mhm.
Crying is a terminal argument. So
Oh.
basically,
contrasting with the very beautiful imagery that this poet has got here, you know, about describing how the sky looks and everything as the stars. Contrasting with that is also that argument that is going on inside the person, you know, and how she's suffering and how she might in fact be contemplating suicide.
So like you could say that she's saying, she or he as maybe is saying, look, it's beautiful. The sunshine is the sunset is beautiful. Don't kill yourself yet. That's also possible.
It's a she.
Is it?
There's no doubt it's a she.
Working
Working woman.
women's master.
Chitra, I didn't hear your point.
No, you said he or she, so I said it is a she because
It is a
Right.
she. It is a she.
working women's
Working women's master.
Yeah.
But tell me something, Harbans, this very first line, doesn't it evoke in the moment you start reading the poem, there's this very high, what is it called? Like a high emotional feeling that this poet is getting. It's an escapade. It's moving away
Yes.
from everything else.
Yes.
So in a way, if it's a high, why would we be thinking like so badly about, you know, I mean, of course, there is confusion in this person's eyes and various other things, but it starts in such a tremendously impactful way, like, you know, so it almost makes you feel like it's like somebody just wanted to get away from, you know, the mundane stuff of daily life and just to escape into the evening.
Yes, that's what she does. She goes up there
Yeah.
to enjoy the evening, to enjoy
Yeah.
her end of her working day, to get a
Correct.
rest. And it's a lovely scene. And she's taking a bit of air, walking up and down this balcony of hers. It's her
Mhm.
great outdoors.
Mhm.
But then she starts to think. And she begins to think, oh, I'm alone. I have nobody in life. Where am I going? I don't have any friends. Or am I a loner? Is it just because of my personality? I don't like people. No, I don't want to have any friends. So she then starts to debate inside herself on her present position in life about loneliness and partners and company and what she's going to do with herself in life. And then it gets more difficult. The difference must be resolved quickly now. Meaning, is there something wrong with me? Or is there something wrong in my situation? And it will get resolved. And
I think she's looking at the difference between being a loner and being lonely.
right. So, and that difference comes down to, am I a loner by nature and personality, or am I in, and I really don't have any friends? Nobody loves me, and I'm completely alone. So
I
this
know
question,
nobody loves me either.
nobody loves me either.
Oh, we all love it.
Oh,
it's-
Raj, come on. We love the way you cycle all over the world, man. You're doing a great job enjoying yourself.
Thank
No,
you.
anyway, the poem is trying to say, I mean, this is the debate that starts in her head, and she's debating this, and she does remark on the loveliness of the evening
Yeah.
and the colors and the moon, and then the breeze picks up. And with these thoughts in her mind, the warning comes to her: don't have any ideas of flying out of this window, and don't burst into tears, because it'll all end badly, and you don't know you'll end up at the foot of this bloody skyscraper. Get back inside. So this can happen to anybody. If I don't know if any of you have ever been up to on a really high skyscraper and you overlook, even if you go up the Eiffel Tower or the Empire
I've been
State
up
Building,
there.
it makes there is a temptation of what would happen if I jumped. And
Yeah.
this is a deep thing inside all of us about the nature of death and what death means to us and its power over us and how we have to keep away from it and how it attracts us. So in psychology, Freud, people have spoken of the death instinct. The death instinct is not a real instinct that people want to die, but death is a subject that has a place inside everybody's psychological system. And from time to time, in different situations, it comes up, and we have to have our apparatus to cope with it. And some people are completely inside it. They ruminate over death all the time, and others don't care at all. And so each of us has an arrangement with death. And this poem is about this arrangement in a lonely working lady's life on a high balcony.
So,
What do you
who's
think
the-
these silver wings fluttering on the crazy floor are?
I think those are, somebody said, moths or something, when they leave their flies, when they leave their wings on the floor, when they become,
locusts and whatever.
locusts kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So who's the author, Harbans?
It's a lady called Tara Patel. I'll send her name to you now. And I would like to know if she is still alive or not. And if I must write to her.
Well, if she's talking of 350 rupees a month, I think if she's
Probably
alive, it's very open.
she's my generation. If she's alive, she's my generation. So I would love to meet her. I can't find the, damn, where's the WhatsApp? Yeah, okay. Her name is Tara Patel. There are lots of very fine Indian lady poets. I have a little book called Indian lady poets or something, female poets. And it's a great joy to read their poetry from in English. Where whenever I've had a chance, I've always enjoyed these lady poets. Vinay, are you still with us? I think she's left us, the lady poet of the group.
No, she's on mute. She's there.
Vinay? She's gone to sleep, poor lady. She's quite right. It's very late. And in fact, that brings us, we're only 9 minutes over time, and it's a good time for us to stop. And I think we've all had a good enough evening. And sorry to leave you on a poem which is a little bit somber, but it's not really pessimistic. It's a nice Bombay poem.
And Tara Patel is, you can Google her. She's still alive, I think.
She is alive.
But
Oh, wow.
There's
Okay.
many Tara Patels, but this Tara Patel poet looks like the
Right.
one you're looking for.
Oh, great, great, great. Very good.
I don't know because people are discussing her books and all.
Aha. Excellent, excellent. So with your permission, ladies and gentlemen, we will stop here. May we?
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank
Okay.
you, Harbans, for
Thank
leading
you.
us
Well, thank you
again.
very much.
Thank
nice.
you for all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, all of
Good
you.
meeting you and
Good night.
enjoy
and
the
Good
rest.
night.
Good to see you. Bye.
bye-bye,
Bye, 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 bye.
everybody.
bye. Good night.